Massive NFL news today as Russell Wilson has been dealt by the Seattle Seahawks to the Denver Broncos. I am Tom Downey. Alongside me is Matthew Peterson, here to break down this news involving Russ, Denver, and Seattle. First, the details. Broncos are getting Russell Wilson and a fourth-round pick. The Seahawks are getting Drew Lock, the QB, Shelby Harris, the defensive end, tight end Noah Fant, 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and a 5th-round selection. A fairly massive haul here, Matthew, for Seattle in exchange for a franchise QB.
Massive haul? I don't think it's big enough. I've done plenty of Russell Wilson mock trades to Denver, and every single one of them included 3 first-round picks. And you only give up 2? And then one of them is in a year where it's a 9th overall pick, so it's still top 10. I'm not going to, act like that's not a good asset to get. But it's not a quarterback-heavy class, so you don't get the guy you would have liked to have seen, I think, if you're Seattle in terms of being under center next season. And then after that, you're going to get the Broncos' first-round pick for the following year, which hopefully is a late first-round pick, right? Like if you look at the Detroit Lions, for example, they like the idea of getting Stafford for 2 first-rounders, except it's a 32nd overall pick right now, which probably wasn't what Detroit had in mind. So I think the Broncos win this trade hands down. And sure, it's going to be tough parting ways with Shelby Harris, a fan favorite. Noah Fant, who you felt was just really getting into his groove. First-round pick out of Iowa that's just waiting to break through, maybe have been limited by inconsistent quarterback play. But and then Drew Lock, who I don't even care at this point, and 2 seconds, and you get a 4th back?
This is weird.
The fourth, I don't get that at all. The fact that you were able to, I bet Denver muted the mic when they were on the phone, they're giving us a 4th. Should we see if they'll go further? Should we ask them for a second and see what they do?
As they want David goddamn Putney.
Yeah, I get it. Thank you. Yes.
All right,
Great but terrible movie.
I will make note. This news comes not long after Aaron Rodgers announced he's going back to Green Bay. Adam Schefter says that Denver adding Russell Wilson has nothing to do with Rodgers' decision to go back to the Green Bay Packers. Denver general manager George Patton. I'm right, Peyton. I was right the first time. Peyton. Initiated trade talks with Seattle for Wilson at least 2 weeks ago. So we'll spend more time breaking this down on both sides here, but we want to hear from you guys in the comment section. Who won this trade? SEA for the Seattle Seahawks, DEN for the Denver Broncos. This is the pinned comment on today's video. So if you get an ad break on YouTube while it's going or while the ad's playing, head down there. Type in SEA for Seattle, DEN for the Denver Broncos. All right, more Russell Wilson talk here. The Denver side, since they're getting the player. This is their franchise QB. And now it's all about, just like the Rams were able to pull it off, like Denver was able to pull off a few years ago and the Bucs just pulled off. This is about winning a title quickly with Russell Wilson, who, as you like to point out, Matthew, might be here a little bit longer than, say, Rodgers could have hypothetically been.
You said quickly, and you mentioned, you look at Brady, and you look at Stafford, kind of the veteran quarterback pieces that have changed uniforms later in their careers. Russell Wilson may not even be hitting his prime yet. I mean, you look at the best years of Tom Brady, they came in his 40s. He was better in his 40s than his 20s. Now, Wilson at 33 maybe is just about to hit into his stride, which is crazy to think for what we've seen from the 9-time Pro Bowl quarterback. Now, I think for the Broncos fan base here, you're not looking at this through the lens of, we got to win soon. You're looking at this like, we are locked and loaded for the next decade. I would like to think Russell Wilson, and the way he takes care of his body, can play into his 40s. He won't be a quarterback, I think, that retires at 37 or 38. Look at Aaron Rodgers. The guy won back-to-back MVPs at the ages of 37 and 38, 36 and 37. Russell Wilson, he loves to cook, but I think we're just adding sauce to the pan right now.
Does it concern you at all that Russell Wilson was not the same QB before his or after his injury? Excuse me.
You say not. I mean, I guess it's a little tough.
Post-injury, he wasn't, especially until the last couple games, he wasn't right.
Right.
The offense wasn't right either.
Right. That team was just losing games, and they weren't getting it done off on the offensive side of things. But I think that's kind of what maybe spurred a trade a little bit, was that he needs to change the scenery. He wants to get something else going, because he may have felt he was hitting a wall in Seattle in terms of the play calling and the offensive mindset. Remember when Russ got to Seattle? It was feed Marshawn Lynch and use Russell Wilson as the best play-action quarterback God has ever given the NFL. And then I hit a point, it's like, hey, I can do a little more than play action. I can do my own bit here and don't need a little bit of help of getting those safeties in towards the line of scrimmage. And so you let Russ cook, and letting Russ cook has its pros and cons, but I think that the Seahawks ultimately, every time they got to a point where they're like, oh no, it's not working, let's bail on this and go back to what we did with Lynch in 2014, he was like, guys, it was a long time ago. We got to move forward here with the offense and not stay the same, because if you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards. And now he's moving to Denver, and I think the idea is when he gets there, he's going to team up with new head coach Nathaniel Hackett, and he's going to go, let's get innovative on offense. Let's not approach us like the Seahawks did with me for the last 3 or 4 years, where I felt I was limited in terms of the play calling they threw my way.
All right, are the Broncos Super Bowl favorites? Y for yes, N for no. Get your votes in there for me in the comments section right now. More conversation on the Seattle side of it, as they have draft capital to play around with now. A first-round pick this year, number 9 overall. I would argue it's a bit more likely this is going to be used on maybe an edge rusher or a trench player as opposed to a QB. A first-round pick in 2023, 2 second-round picks. Those numbers, dates, you don't quite know. There's extras for Denver there from the Von Miller trade, and a 5th-round pick. Players also going. I will continue to call him Tank Commander Drew Lock. He's not your franchise QB. I told Denver fans this for years, or maybe year and a half we'll call it, and they were so mad at me over it.
Oh, yeah.
He ain't your guy. And now they never believed in Drew Lock because they got Russell Wilson there. I am intrigued by the next 2 additions, though. Noah Fant, the tight end, former first-round pick out of Iowa, does help keep a pretty good receiving playmaker core intact in Seattle. Noah Fant, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. That's pretty damn good and still quite young. So whether it is a 1 or 2 year rebuild or a hopefully not but longer rebuild, those guys are still core pieces for you. And I do like the addition of Shelby Harris as well. Now Harris is going to turn 31 this year. He's not going to be a super long-term guy. He's under contract for the next 2 years, but he fits this new scheme quite well as they move to a more full 3-4 front in Seattle. We have daily videos for you guys right here at Chat Sports. It's youtube.com/chatsportstv. If you want those free videos multiple times every single day, then subscribe. You guys have come to the right destination. I think it is time for Seattle to rebuild here, Matthew. And I'm not saying this is a 5-year-long MLB style. It's not what I'm saying. But you didn't have a great year last year. You've got some aging pieces at various positions. I would embrace a rebuild. And this might be a 1 or 2 year rebuild. And if we want to call that a retool or reset, sure, I'm fine. I don't think this team should be remotely as all in as they were this past year about trying to win games. You're not doing another Jamal Adams trade at this moment. You kind of want to have some draft capital. So if you want to potentially release Bobby Wagner or trade Bobby Wagner, I get that. But I don't think this team's lens should be, okay, how do we win the most games possible this upcoming year with such uncertainty at QB? I don't think that should be their philosophy.
I think the Seahawks are going to be like the Broncos of 2021 this year. They'll have a lot of great pieces.
Okay,
Think about it.
fine.
They're going to have DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Noah Fant. You have was it 2nd-round pick, Dwayne Eskridge last year? So you already got a good amount of talent right there. And then maybe you bring back, what's-his-face from San Diego State, the running back who had a great the last couple games of the season for Seattle. Rashad Penny, thank you, producer Sam.
It's free agent.
You'll have, maybe you bring him back, though, I'm saying. And then you already have a couple decent pieces with Shelby Harris joining that defense and Jordan Brooks at the linebacker spot, Jamal Adams. You got some other decisions to make. But I think the Seahawks will be kind of like the Broncos. They'll have a lot of good spots on that roster. The biggest hole will be the quarterback position.
Yeah.
And they'll enter next offseason, kind of like the Broncos this offseason, where they've got a lot of great assets. They are just missing the most important puzzle piece of all, a quarterback.
Yep, I completely agree. From Denver's standpoint, of course, now you're all in right now, and Seattle's just kind of in a bit of a middle ground, and they're going to be the worst team in the NFC West because they don't have that QB. At least as of right now, they don't have that QB.
I think the only reason, I think the best spin zone, if you're a Seahawks fan right now, you tell yourself, maybe Trey Lance sucks. Right? I mean,
Yeah,
maybe
that's
you
fair.
haven't
That's
seen
fair.
enough out of him. Hopefully, he's a bust, and you can go 7-10, and they go 6-11, and you don't finish in the cellar. But I don't know if you'd rather go 7-10 versus 6-11 because you want to get C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young, and it's March 2022 right now. But those are likely going to be the biggest names in March 2023 when we get ready for the next NFL draft.
All right, the big news around the NFL today, Aaron Rodgers back in Green Bay. Russell Wilson out of here, going to Denver. Who is the better QB right now? RW for Russell Wilson or AR for Aaron Rodgers?